Welcome to Crossroads on Mira Business FM in collaboration with Middlesex University Dubai. I'm Dima Magalse, Senior Lecturer in Film and Media at Middlesex University Dubai, and I'm here with my co-host Dr. David Tully, Associate Professor and Head of the Media Department of Middlesex University Dubai. Every week on Crossroads, we explore a new story and topic shaping the film and entertainment industry through conversations with experts from the field. You can listen to us live on Mira Business FM, YouTube live streaming, and you can also follow and engage with the podcast on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Just typing Crossroads. Starting with you, David, how are you doing and how's the week been for you so far?
I've had a horrible cold, but I guess we're not here to talk about that. I'm on the mend, thank you for asking. If we're actually talking about the industry, which is, I guess, why we're here, I guess the big news is the Oscar nominations that came out yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to tell you what I think about them before I ask you what you think about them. The big surprise was Sinners getting 16 nominations, which I don't know if you've seen Sinners. I liked Sinners very much. It was very good. I love the blues, and it's about the blues. In fact, I still got to find out why we're not using Crossroads, the Robert Johnson song, as our theme, because that's what I've been pushing for. But I 16 setting a record for Oscar nominations seems to me.
I think it broke the records for La La Land and Titanic as well, right?
Yeah, and I don't get it. I think it's a measure of where feature films are going, that a solid action movie that breaks records like that, there's just nothing else out there.
But why you don't think it deserves 16 nominees?
It just doesn't seem like an Oscar-type movie to me.
Okay.
But that's just me. The other news is, of course, let's not move on from the Oscars because you wanted to talk about Cinema Akil. Tell us a little bit about the film festival this week because it does tie in with the Oscars.
Yeah, Real Palestine is happening this week as part of Cinema Akil. There are many Palestinian films, indie films, documentaries, and talks with the filmmakers themselves happening at the Circle. There's also Sundance Film Festival is happening this period of time, and the main theme for it is also talking about storytelling, about diversity, ethnicity, and the importance and power of storytelling, which reminds me of our last episode with our guest, the film director and producer Ammar Galal. Remember when we were talking about the power of storytelling?
It's almost like Sundance was listening to us and taking notes.
Probably. Probably is that.
We've got plenty more for them to take notes on this week.
Yes.
But again, to go back just briefly to the Cinema Akil and the film that was nominated for the Oscar, which was the voice
of Hind Rajab.
Yeah. That is being screened this week as well, I believe, as part of the festival, as well as Palestine 36, which was shortlisted for the Oscars. So good things for people to check out this week.
All That's Left of You as well, and many other Palestinian films, but mainly these three films as well because they were shortlisted for the Oscar, and then now Hind Rajab is officially competing for the other, along with other films as well.
Amazing.
You know, many new content also is coming to different platforms, Netflix, Amazon Prime. So you can see lots of happening, Hollywood, Oscar nominations. We have indie films as well, Sundance, and other platforms. And I was thinking how we have another layer we're unlocking today as well that I think is going to change the industry pretty much. And that's what we're going to discuss today, which is AI in filmmaking.
Exactly, which leads us to our esteemed and honored guest. And I want to thank Tewe Pannier for being with us today. He's the founder and CEO of GTV Film Productions and Paradox Studios here in Dubai. Tewe, thank you for being here.
Hello, thank you for having me, Dima
and David. And we wanted to have you on. One thing I was just talking to you about right before the show, very briefly, seconds before the show started, was this envoy from the UAE was speaking at Davos yesterday about AI and quoting Elvis, as one should, when discussing weighty matters. A little less conversation, a little more action. Also, Variety has a story that just came out this morning about celebrities, Cate Blanchett, Scarlett Johansson, people like that, backing this AI legislation. AI legislation is the big story. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts about that because if one goes to the GTV site, you're talking about tailored storytelling. one of the ways in which you're tailoring storytelling is through the use of AI. So I wanted to ask you about your thoughts about legislation and about how you use AI in your own work.
Yeah, AI is there. And I think everything you mentioned now with Hollywood, you, Dima, saying it changes. I think it already changed Hollywood quite a bit in the production processes and workflows, the opportunities and possibilities, to put it in a positive way. And it has changed the legal environment as well. I think Scarlett Johansson was the one, I'm not 100% sure, but was the one that won a big court suit last year or roughly a year ago when they imitated her voice in AI, and then she sued whoever it was. I don't remember that, and she was right. You know, she worked hard to create that persona around her voice, around her name. But if you ask, so that's one part of it, the legislation. But when you ask how is the change happening at our comparably small company, we will not be nominated for the Oscars soon.
Don't be humble.
We have about 30 people across Dubai, Riyadh. We have a small hub in London which does produce documentaries. So maybe Sundance will be happening at one point. But AI has sapped into our work over the past year, I would say. It started with, you know, an editor saying, yeah, I created this shot because I didn't find it in the library, or because the cameraman didn't take that shot when we did this corporate film, for example. And I would say, really, you did? I didn't even notice that. And then another editor would say that he, you know, changed a frame and took a person out of, not a frame, a shot, took a person out of it and, you know, merged the rest of the scene into the background. And so this was kind of, as I said, sapping into our workflow. And we then decided recently to have a group of people in our offices, mostly the editors and the creative producers, to see, you know, to exchange knowledge and to see how do we actually work with this? How do we prompt which machine?
So a dedicated workforce, a team in your company dealing exclusively with AI.
No, they are wrong, Professor.
Well, it should be.
This show is not in collaboration with Middlesex University Dubai.
No, it's across all teams that we have in the 2 or 3 companies. Everybody that's dealing with AI, that's using AI, or that's interested in AI, is part of that group. So they meet once a week over call, and in the WhatsApp group they exchange, look, I prompted here and look what the result was, or I saw this, just to get the knowledge of the team at one level. Why? Because we need this to compete in the market. There is specifically in post-production and in shot creation, in creation of visuals, of video, there is a big push and a big noticeable change in the market. We have seen the first full TV commercials created fully in AI. So 30-second commercials that are clearly made with AI and often aggressively or openly communicated as, look, we did this in AI. This was a consumer brand in Saudi. And so...
What do you mean by, sorry, to clarify, when it says aggressively promoted as look, we did, it will say right in the ad?
Well, first of all, you can tell it's AI.
Well, you can tell, but they announce
sometimes,
it? Okay.
yeah, and then they promote it in the trade media and on the websites that deal with media and say, look, and proudly,
Now
we have
they,
created these 30
about
seconds, and they brag about it.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
brag about it, by the way. We, in
Yeah.
our presentations, which are mostly created in AI by now, I mean, when we want to create, you know, mood boards, examples, yes, we take the inspiration from real stuff, but then to make it presentable, we use AI. We tell our potential clients or the clients that we deal with, we will use AI. And they like that because it opens those opportunities, and we just have to be transparent about it. We won't, charge a full voiceover. Sorry, Dave, I know you are a voiceover artist.
Very sensitive issue since AI took all my jobs, but okay.
So when we take David's job away, we tell
Not me,
the
but
client that this is or would they prefer an AI, which is 10% off the cost, because all we have to do is just edit it. Or do you want a real voice, right? So it's a need for us. For me, I'm a creative producer, and I come from journalism and storytelling and mostly documentary and fiction, factual stuff. But I'm a businessman as well, and we need to be fit for that. So that's why we founded this group, and that's why we're exploring this very, very actively.
Because you just mentioned how AI is taking over jobs as well, and it's scary for some people. And you said your team proudly also presented that they use AI, not to scare them, but are they aware themselves that AI can take over their jobs as well?
Yes, maybe not all of them. And I gave you this example I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, years ago, I think this is 2-3 years ago, I read in Variety or one of the trade sheets, a wonderful sentence which I live with, and I tell the people I'm telling you now, and I didn't make it up. I read it, which was AI cannot create goosebumps, right? So
Still need the human element.
I think, and that will go on for a long time. Nobody of us knows, not even Elon Musk knows how this will end. But right now, I can still tell if Chad wrote a text or it was a human being. I can still tell if a storyline that wherever you see it on Insta or YouTube or it's not good because it was written by AI, or it's not good because it's written by a bad writer who was human. The good stories, the gripping, appealing, emotionalizing, engaging stories, I believe strongly, are still made by human beings. But this example of this colleague is called Rolando. And Rolando he's a down-to-earth, heart-grinding editor. He edits 10 hours a day. He misses a shot. He prompts a machine, and the machine gives him that shot. That, for me, is creativity. That is, creative to solve that issue or to make the film better at the end of the day. It was a shot, by the way, of a Emirati gentleman turning his head towards the Dubai skyline, which we just simply didn't have. So, but we had a deadline. So he created that shot, and that made the film better at the end.
But it had a human being in the shot, correct?
It was a human being, and he had altogether 3 shots in that 2-minute corporate film work, and I called everybody in, and I said, okay, I want everybody to look, and you name which shots are AI made, and nobody got them all 3.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's, of course, the downside and the danger if you're not transparent about it. But then again, it's an ethical question and an almost philosophical question. Why is that shot worse? Because it was made by AI. It created what we wanted. Now, your question, does it take away Rolando's job?
Especially the technical parts, because you just mentioned that creatively, there's nothing like AI can take the goosebumps, for example, or the human elements out of it. But this also means it's narrowing down jobs into the creatives, more input, because you yourself, since you're a creative producer as well, or director, you can now easily, once you learn these techniques in AI, instead of the editor and the sound designer, you yourself can have the input of the prompts, and you can create that creative aspect. So it's taking more the technical, and so this is one question, if it's taking, like narrowing down these jobs. The other thing, because you mentioned also you're a businessman, and now we're not paying for a model or paying our time to find a model, or paying for the team time, technicalities, the studio time, all these kind of things. Isn't it also affecting your business revenue? Because you will definitely have to sell for AI-produced content. Like, for example, paying for just like AI voice is not the same as paying David.
Yeah, exactly.
So business-wise as well.
And I don't mean David specifically, because
Yeah,
unfortunately I've never booked him.
He was just the
I don't think there
closest
hasn't
example.
been a certain amount of resentment, but we'll move on from that.
Let's use voice. Voice it depends very much what you do. If you do a technical corporate film about a factory assembly line, I do think, and we have done it, that AI is fine. I mean, it works. Nobody even recognizes that this is AI. It saves the client money. It gives us as a business the opportunity to serve the client, and hopefully the client, will pay for the business that we.
I could deliver the goosebumps about the assembly line.
But if you need the goosebumps, and if you need to sit in a recording studio to follow a documentary on Palestine, or even a commercial that needs emotional impact, you can prompt and prompt and prompt, and right now you won't get the result.
Still sort of a flat monotone.
Yes.
For the voice and also for the writing style, I would say.
For the writing style, for the visuals, getting better and better. But the prompting itself becomes an art form almost, because we now created pipelines. And I have to mention that in case the colleagues listen and they say, you're talking about GTV all the time. But there's a second company called Paradox Studios, which we founded about 3 years ago, which goes very, very specifically into digital creation of visuals. So virtual reality, augmented reality, immersive installations and events. And there's a crew there, led by my colleague Mattia, who is a 3D artist. So he was creating digital visuals anyways for the past years. And he, with a team, has now created a pipeline. Because if you and and I'm no expert, if you and I prompt a machine, we will get one result back, and then we're usually not happy with it. And then we need to prompt it again, and that would cost a lot of time and money, and it never gets where you want it. They have now created a pipeline where the prompting process is a more natural and more creative workflow. So I gave you an example of a concrete development we're doing right now for a big broadcaster, which was a thing we've been doing for 20 years almost, is create historic documentaries. Now, if you create a documentary about any topic that has been before 150 years ago, there's very little video material because there was no video, there was no film.
The major drawback, yeah.
Yeah, major drawback. I mean, you look and there's nothing.
It was heavily relying on voiceover and narration.
Sorry?
It was heavily relying on
Or
narration.
reenactment. So
Reenactment, or if it's Ken Burns, slowly panning over a
over
photograph
a document, yeah, but
for about 4 hours.
yes.
Yeah.
We all respect Ken Burns, don't we?
Absolutely, absolutely. But he loves that trick.
However, if the broadcast, and the whole industry is changing in the sense that broadcasters don't have the budgets anymore to commission the comparably niche market of historic documentaries, but there is a large audience, even if it's niche, that still wants to see them. So we are now creating reenactments, which would be crazily expensive, 20, 30, 40, 50, without limit, dollars a minute to have the actors, to have the costumes, to have them ride horses or whatever they need to do. Now we can do that in AI. It is not super cheap, it is not easy, but it's much, much lower cost. And suddenly you can create programs that you couldn't have created with the budgets available. So that's what I mean by here's an opportunity as a businessman and as a creative producer where I want to do this documentary. Broadcaster doesn't have the money, we can do it anyway. Broadcaster was very happy when we pitched this. Said, this is a great idea, do it.
So there is a market for these. Well, first of all, I want to go back to what you just said for a second before I forget about the cost of it, because I was fortunate enough that you showed me a clip. I won't give away what it's about or the plot lines.
Yeah, don't tell anybody that was Alexander the Great.
Battle scene involving a guy who was great, who will remain nameless.
We named 20 cities after him. Yeah.
Who had a big army. And the battle scene was fantastic. I mean, you would think, oh, they hired a lot of extras and a lot of costumes. But you're saying it's not cheap to do that yet, that AI. But compared to hiring those extras and making those costumes,
I mean,
it's
that's
infinitesimal fraction.
And
right?
my partner in the documentary business is a Emmy and BAFTA award-winning director, and his focus is history. He's a doctor of history. Actually, I met him at university, and I left after 6 months, and he made a doctor. and he's still my friend.
No bitter resentment there.
So his problem or issue with AI in the beginning was he would say, he wouldn't do it himself because he's my age, he can't, he's a boomer like me. But we would tell the guys, the editors, let's create Alexander the Great. And we would get back this blonde guy, who looks like some actor that Hollywood once used for Alexander the Great. And he's got this shiny Roman breast, what do you call it? The
Breastplate?
breastplate.
Yeah.
And Dr. Tilman Remme, my partner, would say this is not accurate, right? He was very likely not blonde, and this is a Roman breastplate and not a Macedonian breastplate from that in that time. So what we do now is we do the same that we would do for a reenactment. Tilman and his team would do the research on what did the breastplate, did the territory look like where the battle was, what did the Persians wear that were his enemies. How did they battle? Did they use the horses first or the infantry first and all that? And now you have to craft this, and that is not cheap because you need people for that. The creating of the visuals is a subscription at one of the engines, and we use probably a dozen of them now, and we have to plug them together and then edit and then color grade and then put the music over it. But the creative staff will not be redundant. Right?
So from what you're saying, basically, it's not that it's going to replace the staff. It's going to have its own criteria altogether. Because even working in the production houses industry before, we used to get clients who have like big budget. Then yes, we can go into these cameras, we can have this approach. Or they have a limited budget, then okay, we can use these cameras instead within a limited time. So it's going to narrow down the type of clients themselves as well. And the approach, to have different approach to projects as well.
Yes, and there will be jobs lost, I'm sure, but there might be new jobs
And new
created.
ones taking over.
And maybe not the same. Look, when I started in the business as a news journalist, before I started in the TV business, I was a newspaper journalist. Most of our listeners might remember, or some of them, that there was printed paper where you had
They've at least seen it in movies.
it was black and white pictures. They were not moving images. And then I moved into television. And when we needed to do a piece on something that was 5 years ago, people had to go down to the archive, get a big tin box or a can with a film in it, convert it into beta tape, which was the tape that we used, and then put it in an online editing suite, which you needed to be very exact on where you want to set the edit, because if you didn't set it right and you ran the time, you had to start again. And then the computers came into that field in editing and news, and I don't think there's less people working in news now, but they do different things. And technology, and you can go in almost every industry.
So more of a conversion than...
More of a conversion, and when the coal mines stopped because we had oil coming out by itself out of the rigs, then coal miners would lose their jobs. But the unemployment didn't increase the same rate as the coal miners were fired. You know what I mean? So that's my hope anyways. Or we change the capitalist system and have a completely different system where we don't have to work. And
Well, that's what Elon Musk is predicting is coming anyway, whether we want it or not. So we'll see.
So where the individual doesn't create the value anymore to feed to feed his or her family, but I think that's a different podcast.
We'll get to that later, yeah.
We know that you're also working on a project as a documentary about AI or including AI.
I used Alexander the Great as an example. It's very similar to this, and I don't want to reveal what it is because we haven't signed a contract, and I'm a bit superstitious. But it is indeed a 8-part series which we can only do because we're using AI. If we would have used reenactment or slow pans over a history book, that would have not worked, and we would not have gotten the commission.
And you said also that there is that market for it, and then I deviated from that. I started bringing that up before. Of course, you've got schools. I remember whenever I think of reenactments, I think of all the historical documents we had to watch, or documentaries we had to watch in school. George Washington, bad actors in powdered wigs, and that sort of thing.
They were cheap.
Yes, exactly. So they weren't getting top tier A-list talent. And we knew as little kids they were terrible. So you're going to bypass that. You're going to bypass the, talking about Alexander the Great's breastplate, inaccurate when you've got producers, when you've got what's available in props, all those things inaccurate. The prompting will deliver a better product.
Yes, and there's another interesting observation. I absolutely agree with everything. And then there's another very, very interesting observation. Now, with a lot of traditional filmmakers, industry players, and I mean specifically if we pitch work in Europe, which we do from here, especially the public broadcasters, oh, AI, we can't touch that. They said it a year ago. Now they're starting to commissioning us.
It's only taken a year for them, for the thaw.
And a year ago, I pitched to a big German broadcaster, and AI is not possible. Now, what's happening now is my observation, and this is my kids, this is the friends of my kids. My youngest daughter is 15. They like AI. It's entertaining. Look what they can do with AI. And it's almost like a little bit for us, maybe like a train crash. Oh, look what they're doing with the AI. But it draws attention, and into the generations below us, not Dima, but us too, we will see that this is a completely normal thing. Like our smartphone, when I was young, traveling back in time again to the printed papers that you had to unfold to read information, we didn't have car phones. We had to find, as a reporter, we had to find a phone booth, block it so we can file our text in. And our kids are at home in their smartphones. And again, there is downsides to all of that, but I think there's also a lot of opportunity.
It's just the standard fear of new technology. The Luddite in all of us, basically.
Not all of us. There's a lot of people. For example, our company, Paradox Studios, is full of people who love new technology. They can't get enough of it.
Okay, the Luddite.
And sometimes I have to remind them that we got to make money with it too. But luckily they know that. But no, there's a lot of people, and they're probably the drivers of what we're seeing now that love new technology and want to have every gadget and look at the gaming industry. I know this is not our topic.
Well, no, we're talking about the entertainment industry
and the
Broadway.
gaming
So
industry,
yes,
as we all know, is bigger now than Hollywood and Bollywood combined, which is quite a lot of money. I'm talking about, I don't know, it's combined, but
a lot
it's
of
bigger
shekels,
than each
yeah.
of them. It's a lot of shekels and rupees.
Ruby.
And rimibis. And and I have to admit that I played one of these shooting games for the first time in my life the other day with my son. Because I was saying, it's not for me. And he is actually studying game art development. So
Oh, he is?
He is.
Okay.
So when he came back from his first semester now from the UK, I said, and he was so excited about everything, and that he's dealing now with all these people that understand what he's doing. And then I said, let me play a game. It was very entertaining because I died like 30 times in the first 5 minutes and had to restart. It was a game where I had to, in the Old West, go through snow. But I suddenly understood this is so much more than a movie, because you're in the movie.
Exactly.
Right? And I was so exhausted after fighting wolves and Indians and bad guys with black hats.
Emotionally and physically,
I was.
So it was so
exhausted.
immersive.
Yeah.
And it was very immersive and very real. I remember that one time when I was trying to shoot the bad guys, because apparently I was a good guy, I hope.
Lines are blurred.
I'm shooting away my coverage, which was like a wooden thing where I was hiding behind, but I couldn't aim, so I shot it away, and then I was killed. So I rode my horse into a ditch, which also wasn't very painful.
So I'm curious, I mean, you brought up gaming. Well, first of all, we're at the halfway point, so I got to point out we're crossroads.
faster?
No. Everybody speed up a little bit. Move along. We're Crossroads at Mira Business FM in collaboration with Middlesex University Dubai. You can search for us on Mira Business FM. Find us at all the usual platforms. YouTube, of course, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, what have you. Now I'll get back after saying that. For our
Can I,
station
sorry,
break.
can I interrupt you, David, just to
Nah,
add
I'm
one?
not really comfortable with that, but okay.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Okay, that we're just also a space for creative talk, entertainment. So also since we are both film professors, you can always contact us if you're stuck creatively somehow, you need feedback. We can also discuss it with our guests. So you can comment on the current episode and we'll make sure we answer your question in the next episode. Back to you,
You can
David, and
even
your
do it during
question.
the episode too. I mean,
Yeah?
if Michael, our producer, sends them
Yeah,
in, we'll do
because
it.
some people are creatively stuck somehow, technically stuck. You can share with us. We can discuss it.
And I know as we're talking about both sides of the coin are concerned about AI. Like we said at the top of the show that there's the Variety story this morning about all the creatives saying, you're stealing our content. Strangely enough, it was actors talking, but then you said quite right, they had forgotten about that Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit about her voice was stolen. But they were talking about also stories being scraped, as they call it. So I wanted to talk, you brought up gaming why specifically, like, was there AI employed in what you were playing yesterday, for instance, with your son?
It wasn't yesterday, it was on Christmas Eve. But
Getting the
yeah, I'm
story
sure.
straight.
I mean, AI is, has exploded in our awareness or into our awareness, what, a year, 2 years ago. But artificial intelligence basically means that computers do stuff that you prompt them with, and it's algorithms. And so the whole thing of gaming and also virtual production, which is not very young. I mean, for years we're using green keys, and some of the processes you do in post-production on green key is driven by the computer. You guide the computer, you prompt it, but so yes, a lot of it I suspect is done in AI, and we, for example, use game engines to visualize and big projects in Saudi Arabia. So we would create them as if they're a game with the exact design. And then a lot of it is done by the computer or by the machines, by the AI or the algorithms and the formulas. But you can't do it without the human being because you need to check it. And then when it gets really important is when you want to create marketing assets out of it, because then you need a team of artists that will find the right texture, that will make it, make the water look really good, make sure that the lighting is there, the wind, and so forth.
But I guess what I was thinking about, there's no question it will change the tool, or it is a tool, and it'll change how we use the tools, and it'll change the approach. Do you think it will change the actual content
Yes.
itself as well?
Yeah.
How so?
So storytelling, I said earlier, for those of those who joined us later, I said that
Shame on you.
Goosebumps are not created by AI yet. So the storytelling, I don't think so. But last night, I was unfortunate to watch a new series on Netflix called Seven Dials, which is Agatha Christie.
Oh, okay.
And my wife loved it. I hated it because
I read the book years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm deviating for a second. I remember she wrote it in the 1920s. There was a very popular thriller writer at that time who was a male thriller writer named Edgar Wallace. She wrote that book as a parody of Edgar Wallace thrillers. And she was a female. She wrote from a female perspective, and it was a woman making fun of a man's manly take on the same genre. And I haven't watched the new show, but I don't find any of that in any of the promotional material. And I think if you don't read that book in that context as a woman parodying a man's sort of alpha male approach to the same genre, the story doesn't have any point.
Yeah, but the story, as far as before I fell asleep, I noticed the heroine, the female hero, taking the thing out of the male characters. So
Okay,
the
so
female
maybe it
actors-
did make it
And
over.
I'm half joking. It's just not my genre. I didn't like the genre. It was good production value. It was good storytelling, good acting, all that. What my point being that at one scene there's this, and it's taking place in the 20s. There's this old car driving through something, And I recently was lucky enough to be in Bath in England, which is a beautiful city. I said, that looks like Bath. But it was Bath in the 20s, and how could they do that? And I, searched and found out, yes, they did these shots in Bath, and they let the car drive there. But the oldness, the period, actual,
the theme.
the texture, the street, probably the characters were all created in CGI, probably a lot of it AI. So, and if all of us watch Netflix, Amazon, don't need to name them all, you feel that there's your question, does it change the content? Yes, it does. There's a new style to it. We suddenly see, visuals that we haven't seen before.
Oh, better visuals, you're
Better
saying?
visual? No, I'm not saying better. I'm saying me and probably you and anybody who is in the business immediately sees, okay, this is not real. Does the audience see it? Does the audience mind? They want to see the story.
The same when you look at green screen produced visuals, for example.
Yeah, and either you see it because you think, no, they can't have built it, because you know the budget and you know they can't build the street and path, and this can't be a real shot. They can't build this whole thing in a studio. They can't build it in real, so it has to be CGI, right? And I think the aesthetic and the art and the appearance of fiction has dramatically changed over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
AI and CGI is being used.
There was a huge quantum leap forward in the 90s with computer, I don't
Very
want to say
expensive.
graphics, animation.
Very expensive.
Very expensive. And the blockbusters you suddenly saw, they were very different. I remember the first time it made impact with me was The Mummy. Do you remember The Mummy with Brendan Fraser? And
I did not fall asleep in that movie.
It starts during in ancient
Is this how
Egypt.
you measure how good
Yes.
films are, if I sleep or not?
The barometer. A Tewe asleep or a Tewe awake?
Three snoring signs of a good film.
But what was, okay, it basically was a price tag thing. It was very expensive to do it in the 90s. It's not so expensive to do it now.
Now it would probably be cheaper to create a very good CGI than go on location and build, a 1920s
Yeah.
street in wherever in England it was.
And
supposed to be
you
London.
could only afford one street, so the entire film, they'd be walking
Yeah.
up and down. It used to happen. in
Peaky
films.
Blinders, that one street.
Yeah.
Where, it was always one street and the same horse going from the left to the right.
Speaking now of the technicalities, since you mentioned the technical part as well, there are many AI tools everywhere. Which ones do you really find that are actually credible, especially now that you are adding this to your production?
I can't answer. I just, because I'm not involved in the processes.
Yeah.
Are you asking for which engine we're using?
Yes, or how do you decide which ones are you following? Because there are lots of apps.
Yeah, this is the team that I described earlier, that group in our three companies, that all the editors, and then my partner Tanguy, who, by the way, made his first career in the Walt Disney Company. There's a unit called the Imagineers. And they come up with all these immersive stuff.
Oh, is that an actual unit? I'd always heard
It's a
that
huge
term
it's a huge
applied
unit,
to.
which
I thought it was just the first
Disney
people
now
that worked.
deciding to build a theme park in Abu Dhabi. There will be the Imagineers coming in and helping build that park with, cutting edge technology.
We're not just wearing these for cosmetics. We can hear when you're close enough to the mic or not.
I'm not.
Once in a while when you're talking emphatically, but
Okay.
that's why I'm putting it a little closer.
That better? 1 2 testing.
I know
Make
these
it
also
more
make us look
convenient.
You should get
great, too.
AI.
Professional.
Why don't you just get AI guests and then,
We're working on it. It's too expensive right now.
and then my lips will not be moving when I'm talking. Okay.
Very slow blinking.
So
we were talking about the
we talked. Yeah.
Imagineers.
So Imagineer.
So he was your partner was an Imagineer.
he was with Disney for many years, and then luckily for me, I don't know for him, became my partner in Paradox. And they're digging into this. He knows about these things. He knows about every little detail about these things, and his team does. I don't.
You know,
I can't answer your question, but we have these manuals where they say, look, use this one.
But I really like this, especially when you started, that you have a team, and David asked that's working on AI. You said they are researching the methods of AI and decide on our approach. I really like
And
this.
it came from the team. It came
Yeah.
from the team.
Fastest growing university program, AI Whisperer. So in a way, you've got a team of
AI
AI
whisper. They're
But-
probably
but what
too
I
far
like
away
s-
from the microphone.
What I specifically like about that, because nowadays suddenly I see people on LinkedIn or everywhere, for example, AI specialist, AI expert.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if AI, we just like got introduced to us or became viral a couple of years ago, I know it's been going behind the scenes for more than that. How, like, when did you have time to become an expert? So how, to which extent do you think really, because it's also a viral topic, I'm usually sensitive to trendy topics when everyone starts talking about the same thing, but I like that we're exploring AI now in a humble way, let's say. So to which extent do you think really people who claim to be specialists or experts or making it look as we are in a rush or stress you out to catch up with AI, to
Look
which
at the
extent
result.
it's realistic?
Look at the result. Like, you know, when we now create AI shots, if they don't fit in, then it's not
and
good enough.
somebody's not an expert. Then.
Yeah, that's not an expert. And that's why I was so happy as a owner or majority owner or co-owner of the companies, that it came from the team, right?
Yeah.
They said, man, this is interesting. And, you know, yes, they are younger than me, but they're not like young kids. They're grown senior, like this Rolando guy I mentioned, he's a grown senior editor. I don't know how old, but probably around 40. Rolando, you listen to this and you're 35? I'm sorry. But he, you know, educated himself. He dug it up and he came up with this because he had a need to create that shot. And this is, I think, what is important, to look at the result. Does it work? All the stuff we see, or our kids see, or, you know, probably grown-ups as well, on Insta and TikTok, where you have stuff, yeah, that is not my business. I know they make money with this, but that's not AI expertise. It's probably more like social media expertise, and then you prompt once and you get this. We have researched.
Sorry to interrupt. What would be the difference?
No stories. Usually no stories.
So it's just AI
Effects.
for
Yeah.
a shock effect to get attention.
Shock or entertainment. Or,
Yeah,
I mean, we got a
shock,
lot
not
of
to-
stuff when we did the history research, and we have a very, very good producer on that as well. And when she did the research, there's probably hundreds and thousands of Alexander the Great clips, but they're all stupid. I mean, like,
Breastplates.
Yeah. Well, not even, you know, look how I conquered the world, and then, you know, and there's no educational value, which doesn't have to be. If you just want to entertain, fine. And then, you know, millions are watching that, but that's not our business.
But don't claim that you're an expert or claim that this is the best thing we've done.
Yeah.
or
Well,
this
yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
the only way you can claim an expert is to have the results, I guess. But actually, that is bringing me back to the question that that gnaws at my mind of the content itself. You were just saying that a lot of the Alexander the Great stuff is out there is subpar, shall we say, and probably subpar because there is not a doctor of history providing
Not a doctor of history and not a
content, the
cinematic
storytelling.
and not a cinematic AI prompter who knows frames and angles and, you know,
Okay,
what
so-
they
The
cover a
cinematic
lot.
language, basically.
Yeah, what they cover a lot, what they
Oh,
prompt
that's
a
a good
lot
point.
is let Alexander the Great do a selfie. Yeah. And I'm not, this is about 80%, oh, hey, I'm Alexander the Great, yeah. Entertaining. And I definitely don't fall asleep. It's only because usually only 10 seconds. But, you know, it's not what I want to do, and it's not what I make money with.
So I guess an AI expert would have to, well, first of all, as you pointed out, it's a terrible term because it doesn't mean anything. You could be an expert of anything, and if you don't have the results,
And who
it
made you
doesn't-
an expert?
Yeah, a self-appointed expert. But it would have to be from the technique angle, the
quality,
cinematic angle,
yeah.
and also the knowledge angle, too.
Yeah, and the storytelling.
And I wonder, And this brings us back. You brought in gaming because storytelling in gaming is a very different thing, obviously, than the classic three-act structure of a feature film. And as we talked about last week, and as talked about ad nauseum in classes at university, the three-act feature film seems to be going the way of buggy whip production, which means it's not being done too much often anymore. Whereas gaming, as you said, is a booming business. Although I've read about there's been downsizing of a lot of gaming companies, but I think
it's
probably
always
because they
up and
don't need
down.
as many people.
Yeah, it's up. I
But
just read
still,
yesterday that the French outfit was called Uni. They have 16,000 people to create games.
The audience is there.
The audience is there, the market is there, and yes, it's a complete difference. When I played this game, this Western game, and it's famous, I don't remember the name. Of course, you know, you're briefed before in the first 10 minutes. You're briefed on the heroes, where they are, that they lost their wagons, and now have to fight in the wilderness, and that there's wolf packs and all that. So it's not three acts. But the characters are still the same.
It's many acts. It's still the hero's journey. The hero has a goal: get out of there.
Survive.
But as you said, it's immersive. You are the hero. You're not just passively watching a hero.
And the acts are actually leveled.
Yeah. So I guess there's a couple of ways to answer. This comes back to what I was saying. Will AI change the way people tell stories? Yes.
It has.
It has changed it. And will that old three-act structure go the way? It probably will, but only not because of AI.
We started the show talking about the Oscars and film festivals, and I was wondering, since the storytelling is changing, technicality is changing, I wonder if they're gonna include category for AI in the Oscars one day or in those indie films.
Well, they have CGI, which is probably for a Hollywood film, where you would group it. The three acts are, I think you should know your professors, but they were already structured in antique Greek theater and Roman theater, which was Greek as well. They will probably survive some way or the other, but the market will be smaller. And, do our kids go to the movies and pay, what is it now, 40 dirhams, when they can buy a game for 40 dirhams, where they can immerse and play that game for many, many nights? Probably not.
You're right. Why would they?
Why would they? Not as many will. And so probably as an art form, and I don't know, but it will survive, and there will be three-act films, and there will be art films. But I think the industry is changing, and the revenues are decreasing.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, it was a stupid point. I thought of it as soon as I said it. The three-act structure is never going to go anywhere because it hasn't gone anywhere since the dawn of humanity. As you said, quite rightly, we need that beginning, middle, and end. Set up a problem, complicate it, solve it. The forms in which people address that, they've constantly changed already. And we're seeing it change now. So I guess the question is, what's coming next? And how do we capitalize on it?
And it's so much more. It used to be, you have to go to the movies, and then television came. And before that, it was theater, and, theater, movies, television, internet, TikTok.
Yeah.
So, and there will be people watching movies, going to the cinema, there will be people watching TikTok and everything in between.
And when Omar was on last week talking about microdramas, and these are 1-minute
Yes,
episodes,
I listened to that.
Eventually, when you put those 70 episodes together, the three-act structure applies, just like it does in 5 seasons of Breaking Bad, but it's just told differently now. And that's actually what you had, Dima, quite rightly said, the way we segue in, and of course I blew it up by by forgetting as we started talking. We were going to talk about Sundance and the Sundance panel about AI and the evolution of storytelling, and that was how we were going to go into AI. But
I think
threw the script out the window.
we did.
Did we?
Yeah, it's just a long time ago.
I have a very short attention span and even worse memory.
We'll create some 1-minute clips for you from this.
I need a micro talk show.
No, but now we talked about everything, things that are changing, technical-wise, story-wise, all these kind of things, and especially you coming from the industry and documentaries as well. And documentaries, it's all about authenticity and real experience. Now we're getting into different form of technology and artistic expression, all these kind of things. What do you think we need to protect at any cost that we shouldn't actually compromise on? That yes, there's AI, there's business-wise, there's technical-wise, but hey, people, please, we need to save this.
Yeah, I think it's too late.
Okay.
No, seriously, I'm just quite serious.
Right.
I am a trained newsman, and I think in news that shouldn't have happened. What's happening? There's a lot of, you can call it fake news or not researched news or propaganda, and that hurts me every day. And the next would probably be what we still consider documentaries. Now, when our clients, and I say this with great respect, not least because they're my clients, but also because they pay me. No, but also because that's their need and want. And when they say we would like a documentary, they're usually talking about a 5-6 minute documentation on something they do. And but still, it's often 3 acts in that, and it's often has to be very authentic. But what we mean when we talk documentaries is Sundance, for example. Now, we all know that market is small. I mean, compared to, the billions of people that watch Hollywood blockbusters and TikTok, the documentary market is not very huge. I
It
think we
always
should
becomes
protect
like a
that.
subcategory than fiction. There's much more attention on fiction than
Yes, and always
actually
has
documentary.
been. Always has been. And again, I said this with respect to Netflix, Amazon, all these others, and specifically Netflix. What they call documentary is also very much, scripted entertainment. Yes, you see people being interviewed and you have archive material, but it's not what we would define as a, pure documentary form film. Now, do we need to protect it? As long as capitalism is still valid, I'm a market person. If the market wants to watch documentaries, there will be funds for it. If there's a need for documentaries, there will be funds for it, and there will be directors and people and producers who do them. If there's no need for them anymore, then they will go. So protection is.
But you were saying the question was about authenticity, right? And then you said that as a newsman, that's gone. The authenticity.
No,
I know
you
you're
can
saying
still
it's
find
the
it.
same
You
is
can
true
still
in
find it.
documentaries. I mean, definitely, I get what you're saying that there's always going to be an audience demand, however small or large. There will be an audience demand for documentaries, for news, but. In an age of AI, there is no authenticity.
No, there is, but you need to look for it. And I said it's too late to,
To protect it.
when I was educated, we as journalists we had to check 2 sources at least to confirm. We had to, write that this is an assumption, not a fact. That's mostly gone. You find that in very few niche media, which are also blamed for doing that by others. So that's very hard to protect, and it can only be protected if you, for example, get a subscription to one of these media because you want to read or consume that. That's the form of protection we have in capitalism.
And as storytelling in general, whether it's fiction, documentary, or any short films or any other format, what do you think we need to protect?
Again, I think protecting.
It doesn't exist anymore, but what do you think is slipping away from us then?
And it's maybe a generational thing, but I don't like the haste and the shortness. And with all respect to your guest last time, who says there's now these short forms of feature films. I personally don't like it, and I think storytelling in a longer form is pleasant, is more engaging, has more messaging, more.
There's a lot to be said for texture.
Or meaning, texture,
and also I think if there's one thing that is slipping away from what I heard from what you said, accountability. Two sources to verify. Does anybody do that? Remember a few years ago when Tucker Carlson was being sued for something he said, and it was finally real. The defense of Fox was, well, it's not news, it's entertainment.
Yeah.
They find a good escape in that. That is just entertainment.
Yeah. So where do you draw the line between
Well,
news and
it was always
entertainment?
very hard to sue news organizations, but and by the way, it was a golden time, like the past 50 years maybe. Before that, news was always propaganda and non-checked, and
Yeah, the journalism.
journalism was very, very often driven by interests of either capital or politics or both.
So there was just as you said, a golden time in the 20th century when people
Yeah.
gave lip service, at least, to
Yeah,
impartiality or objectivity.
it was, and it's still taught at university, and in that sense, it's protected in news, where you say you need the two sources, you need to clarify when you have, all that. And it will survive. I mean, I don't want to name the media, but I think everybody knows there's certain media that are still up there and do that, and you can trust. At least I do.
Yeah.
But the general, I think, direction is that it's entertainment, creating platforms to either message or just purely to get attention, to make money with advertising or data.
Unbelievably, we have exactly 9 seconds left.
Bye.
Yeah, let's something positive.
On that apocalyptic note, thank you, Tewe Pannier, for being with us today.
Thank you, Dima.
are
Thank
you. Thank you
indeed
so much.
Really
Thank
enjoyable.
you.
wonderful. I would love to have wrapped up and tied up the loose ends. But I'll do it next week. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Okay,
wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.